Welcome to the Q.A.C. Team podcast series with your host, Charles Luttrell. Our series features leaders and business owners in your community discussing the customer experience, employee satisfaction, and performance improvement. Our series will help share strategic ideas for coaching and mentoring through mystery shopping in a post-pandemic economy. And now here's your host, Charles Luttrell.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome to the first Q.A.C. Team podcast of 2023. And I have with me Richard from the Seafood Stop. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Awesome. Welcome to 2023. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Happy New Year.
Awesome. Let's get started here. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Richard Anderson, and I am the proprietor of the Seafood Stop in Fallston, Maryland, as well as Richard's Fish and Crabs in Churchville and 111 Main, which is a fine dining restaurant on Main Street, Bel Air. Years ago, I was a school teacher, and we started a family. My wife and myself started a family, and we decided that we wanted her to stay home with our children. And so I was teaching school at the time, and I thought I need to supplement my income with another job so that we could make ends meet while she was home, because she had been employed before that. So I got a part-time job in a crab house in Timonium. And that kind of evolved into me opening up a live crab truck in the Fallston area on Route 1 in 1989. And so it was very slow at first. I was twiddling my thumbs by myself, kicking rocks and whatnot, but eventually, after into the third year, I saw an increase in sales. And then it not only was, after 4 or 5 years, not only was it crabs, then it evolved into selling crab meat, live lobsters, shrimp. Oysters became very big in the fall and winter. So then I needed 2 trucks. And I just sat on the side of the road in an empty 4-acre lot in front of Fallston General Hospital, if people can remember that.
Yes, I remember Fallston General.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I sat for 11 years. And it exploded in 1995. It really was. It was like having 2 full-time jobs, because I was originally I was open. The truck opened at the end of the school year through Labor Day, and then it became so busy, and people wanted crabs, into September, into October, into November. Then you're switching gears and you're starting to sell shrimp and lobsters and oysters. So it became, not just June to Labor Day. It became May through October. Then it became April through December. And mind you, I'm still teaching school at the same time.
Right. And you started this with just a truck? You were sitting on the side of the...
It was a 1977 Dodge refrigerated truck.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a box truck. It was, I think it was approximately an 18-foot box. Yeah. And the crazy thing about that truck, it had to be mobile, for the health department to approve my mobile food license. It had to be mobile. So once a year, I had to drive it up to, they wouldn't come and inspect it. They wanted you to drive it there, to show them that it was a mobile unit. Well, this thing could barely, it, it could barely run for like more than an hour.
Oh man.
I would spray ether into the carburetor once a year, and it would fire. Actually, it was kind of crazy. It would fire right up, and it was just every bump that I hit going up into Bel Air to get this truck inspected. Every bump that I hit, rust from the roof of the interior would just fall all over me.
Oh my gosh.
It was very comical, actually. And the wheel was as big as I don't know what. Turning that wheel, and there was no power steering. That thing was a bear
Oh,
to really steer and make turns. But it was
I don't think anybody past their age understands anything without power steering. That's for sure.
oh god, without power steering, it's strenuous, especially on a big truck like that, trying to make turns, on with those big tires.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty crazy. But I would limp it up there, and I was praying the whole time, because from Falston to the health department in Bel Air was, maybe 3 miles, and I was just praying that a cop wouldn't pull me over, because I'd have been just, that would have been it. They inspected that truck, it would be all over, but it never happened. So, so I got back as fast as I could and got the truck back and wired it. And it was hardwired. We had a wire for the refrigeration. We hardwired it to a pole in the back of the woods.
Oh wow.
So you didn't have to run it off its motor, so it was hardwired. So I had a friend of mine who was an electrician. He ran the line for me.
Damn, times have definitely changed, because you could not do that today, could you?
No. No. And so at the end of, I guess at the end of the 90s, my landlord there, Ron Adams, who owned Adams Jeep, he owns Adams Jeep Eagle and a couple other dealerships around. He was the owner of that property. He told me, about in the mid 1990s, maybe late 1990s, he was like, Richard, you can stay here as long as you want, until water and sewer come through. He said, when water and sewer come through, I'm selling it. He was waiting for the value to go up with the water and sewer. So
yeah, because that's what it would make sense. Absolutely. He's making bank then.
So he could cash in on that. And I wasn't blaming him. I'm like, I'm okay. Thanks for the heads up. And so I saw that coming. I saw some surveyors. I saw in the Aegis that things were like water and sewer were coming through that corridor in the next year or two. This was the late 1990s. And so I was trying to prepare myself like, okay, I have something really good going here. And I'm also burning the candle at both ends. And I just, I didn't know. I was like, I need to make a decision, whether to go into the seafood business full time and quit teaching, or, vice versa, keep teaching and maybe just do the seafood stuff on the side during the summer months only. So I'm a believer in signs, and my wife not so much, but I am. And I was like, I need a sign to help me, make this decision. So I taught at Cockeysville Middle School, and in Baltimore County. And so we had in 1999 a new principal came in, And she had her own agenda, and I had been part of the 8th grade team of teachers for probably about 7 years by now. And we had a really good program going on. We took the kids to Ellis Island every year, and anyway, just a great team to work with. And this new principal came in, had her own agenda, and broke up our 8th grade team and put me into 6th grade. And I said, "That's my sign."
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that's it. So I went in and I resigned like a week or two after she broke our team up. And I went down the street in Falston to, there was a piece of property down there at Benson Meats. Henry Gratio owned it. And it was an empty lot. We worked out a deal. He would build the building. He would build for lease, and then I would have to finish the interior of the building. And we made a deal, and we opened up the seafood stop in April of 2000.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a great way to start. You see signs.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I
Yeah.
still, I still see signs over the past few years. I've asked for a sign where, I want to, I truly believe in it, and some people don't, but I made the right decision when this new principal came in. I knew that was the sign. I knew it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because that was my next question was, why did you decide to be a business owner? So that took us right into that question. But the third question I have is, why did you choose this industry? That's what I want to know.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have gone into the business and given up my teaching career. I had been teaching for 12 years, so I gave up
Mm-hmm.
a lot of years.
Right.
If I didn't really love this business, it's to me, it's all about crabs. The crab industry in the state of Maryland it's a very unique cultural experience. I mean, globally, there's not too many areas in the world that deal in live food product. That
Mm-hmm.
theme thing, creatures that are alive or sell live animals for food. Like I was on the side of the road for 11 years. I didn't steam. I only sold live.
Ah, okay.
So, it's almost like you see a lot of this in Asia, where they deal with in live product.
Mm-hmm.
But in the United States, not so much, except, when it comes to crabs, lobsters, oysters are alive,
Mm-hmm.
but crabs in particular, it's like crabs in the state of Maryland consumes more crabs than anywhere else in the United States.
Mm-hmm. I remember years ago when I was a kid, we had a kiddie pool out back where we lived in Baltimore County, and my parents would go buy them and dump them in the kiddie pool. They'd be, crawling around in the pool while they got the steamer ready. They would steam them themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
what a fun time!
it's very cultural, and it's an experience. Okay, getting back to when you were a kid, when I was on the truck steaming, or when I was on the truck selling live crabs, I would bring live crabs home every Friday night, and I would steam them on our Weber grill.
Wow.
Big, those big porcelain brown or black pots, those old porcelain black pots, and I would steam on a Weber grill. I get it hot as can be, because that's what you want. You want to get it as hot as you possibly can. And I would get that thing glowing.
Wow.
And my kids will never forget that. That's what we did every Friday night. And they would sit and watch. They would watch, me pull the crabs out. They would watch me put the crabs in the pot. Crabs going, well, I would ice my crabs so they would be stunned, but but it was an experience that they never will forget. And kids love when you take live crabs home and steam them in front of them. It's just like it's magical,
Right.
So that to me was the hook. Was with the watermen that I dealt with, really respecting how they live, on off of the water, off of the Chesapeake Bay, and not just the Chesapeake Bay, because we can't, the crab houses in the state of Maryland sell so many crabs, the Chesapeake can't supply enough of that to meet the demands right now. So you have to go out of state, Louisiana, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, Delaware, New Jersey, so I got to know a lot of these individuals inside our state of Maryland and outside, and they're a different breed of people, and I really respect how they work, their work ethic. It's they're completely dependent on Mother Nature, like a farmer, per se, and it's back to the roots of, harvesting food and fishing the waters and whatnot. And I just really respected that. I really connected with that. I kind of envy them, to tell you the truth. I remember talking to a waterman, Bill Gunther. He lived off of Bush River on Perryman Road. He was a good man, and he told me, Richard, the best thing about my job is when I'm motoring out in the morning from the Bush River and watching the sunrise on the Chesapeake Bay. He said I'd see that all the time, and he said I never get enough of it.
That's great.
It's always a new sunrise. And so it's like, in our day and age, and the day, the age of the computer and electronics, these guys are completely different. Not just guys, women too, that are involved in businesses.
Right.
So anyway, that's probably the best, or the reason why I stuck with the business was because of, the Chesapeake Bay and the culture that,
right.
It had the crab industry and the oyster industry and the rockfish industry, how vital and it is to our state and our economy and our culture.
Right. So you expanded from there in Falston, and you went to Churchville. You were early days on the corner up there by the college.
Yeah, on the gas station. Yep.
Yeah, it was the old gas station. Right?
Yeah, the old gas station. That was in 2006.
Gotcha.
So I opened. We opened the seafood stop in Falston in 2000, and then I wanted another location. I had a partner at that time.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something on my own, but I also didn't want to really compete with our existing business in Falston. So my father always told me, he was with me all through the years at the truck. He was the MC, basically. We have a line of people at the truck, like I'm literally a line of 30 or 40 people.
Wow.
And he would be the greeter, the MC, the cashier, and he was a very social, fun-loving individual. He could talk to anybody.
Yeah, he was the entertainment for you.
Yeah, he was. He always told me, he said, Richard, if you're going to do something else, go up to Churchville. I took my father's advice very seriously. Um, he was my best friend, and he was my greatest advisor.
Hmm.
Um, and so he said that's where I would go if I were you. I would go to Churchville. It's on the other side of Bel Air. So that's what I did. I started looking around, and I decided to take on that gas station.
Hmm.
That was 2006, and we we stayed there until this past July. Um, it was a very nostalgic, you know, place where people would say, "Wow, there's a crab house seafood market in this old gas station."
That was me driving by it all the time.
Mhm. I mean, people would be like, "I'm not going to stop there." I've had people come to the store many, many times when we were at the gas station and say, "You know how many times I drove past this place? Like, I'm not going in there." And they said, "But I eventually had to stop to see what you were all about." And I said, "Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. They drive right past us. They're like,
and,
I'm not going in there."
and I thought I was alone until a good friend of mine stopped there. He said, "Man, he's got great food." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like,
Yeah.
"It looked weird, but I got the food, and man, it was good."
Yes, yeah. So that became a part of our character.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had a canopy over the building, an old gas station canopy. So we put picnic tables out so people could sit down and eat outside, but they could stand and wait for their crabs underneath cover, and
Mhm.
it was pretty cool. I would
Yeah.
have to say I was hesitant, and I am being serious. People were thinking, well, why would you want to stay in that old place? Because of the character that it held.
Hmm.
You know, a guy that does our plumbing work, he said to me a couple of years ago when I was considering moving, he's like, I don't think I would, Richard. He says, that's a really cool place. People really dig, you know, what that place is all about and the vibe that it gives and it's like old school, you know.
Hmm.
And so, that was a factor that kind of tugged at my heart. Like, I'm not sure whether you should move or not. But I decided to move over a year ago to a new place, right, not even 100 yards away on the other side of the Campus Hills liquor store. Um, and the main reason that I really loved the vibe up on the corner. I did, but the main reason was the building was falling apart.
Ah, okay.
And the staff had to do things that they shouldn't have to do.
Hmm.
You know, um, the obstacles that they had to overcome just to, you know, function every day. And for our customers too. I wanted to make it more comfortable for our customers. So it was very much related to making my staff more comfortable and making my customers more comfortable, and
Right.
also parking too.
Hmm.
That small area up there on the corner, in the middle of the summer at our 6 o'clock pot, you know, good luck finding a place to park. you
Hmm.
know. Um, so parking was an issue, and now our space is huge at 2211 East Churchville Road, like right next to the liquor store.
Right.
Our parking is a non-issue. There is probably enough for 200 cars to park. So it's but that was my main reason for moving. Yeah,
Right.
but
And I noticed how when they built that building, I was always wondering what it was going to be. And so many people were telling me that it's going to be like a housing for college students. And I'm like, they wouldn't do that. It's an odd spot to put a housing. And then as the building got developed and I saw the parking lot, I'm like, they're going to put stores in there. And then I saw that you moved there. Now, is that a full service restaurant you have at the new location?
okay, at the new location we have um about 5 tables where you could sit and eat lunch inside. Not crabs. They're not crab tables. They're lunch tables.
Okay.
And there's a public bathroom inside the building. So you can come into the, and get yourself a sandwich or a platter, and sit down and eat lunch. But crabs, we are thinking there's a little area out down on in the parking lot. There's a little area that's almost like a little park. Our landlord has planted trees there. There's some sapling trees starting to grow there, and it's a grassy area. So we're thinking about, and it's, maybe 50 yards away from our front door,
Mm-hmm.
of putting tables down there and maybe like a pavilion,
Ah, okay.
and so people can go down there and during the summer eat their crabs.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So, and there's plenty of room for it. So, yeah, we're considering that for sure, because we used to have people eat crabs under the canopy up at the gas station. So
Right.
we want to kind of give people the opportunity to do that too.
Right. Now, will the restaurant ever be a eat-in where you can sit in and eat crabs inside there, or is that's no?
No, I don't think that I'm going to tackle that. And the reason it's a different, that's a whole different animal.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to full serve crab house, sit down, with getting a liquor license and everything else for beer. Because if you have sit down crabs, you're going to have beer and wine.
You,
Sure.
you beat me to it. I was going to say, crabs and beer, man. You got
Yeah.
it goes
That's
together.
that's the really cool thing about our location right now. I mean, it wasn't that far from Campus Hills Liquors
Yeah.
before, but now we're like right. I mean, it's not even 50 paces from our door is Campus Hills Liquor. So you can pick up your crabs and pick up a 6-pack or a case of beer right there. It's like it's a crab beer one-stop shop, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys do cross promoting?
Not yet. I've really wanted to do that, but we haven't done that yet. But that's in the future for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That'd be a great idea, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm even thinking about building a set of steps. There's a little hill that is in between our building and the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about even building a set of steps to make it just easier. I mean, it's not that big of a deal going up and down the hill, but still,
If it's
if
raining
it's
or
raining
right.
exactly,
Yeah. Somebody
stuff
slip
that
and
together
fall and
could be slickery, and somebody might fall down, and then guess what?
yep.
Who knows what? I don't want to even think about that.
Yeah. And they have
But
to buy a whole new bushel of crabs because they just lost them all.
exactly. Yeah. So
Right.
so that's I'm thinking about that too. I want to be able to. I want to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Good neighbor to our fellow small business owners. So yeah. That's it's in the works. I mean, we still logistically have things to figure out inside our building, where to put
Gotcha.
how to make the flow
Mm-hmm.
better, to what it should be. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know the laws, the liquor laws and stuff, but is it possible you have like when you do that pavilion out there, would it be like a BYOB? You could go to next door, buy the beer, and come up there and eat the crabs and drink the beer.
That's
Is that the vision?
I mean, that is a vision. Yeah.
Mhm.
I I I'm not sure about the legal I'm not sure the legal answer to that
Yeah.
when it comes to your liquor license, for a liquor license or a BYOB. I'm pretty sure that Harford County does not have a BYOB license available. Pretty sure of that.
That's
I
interesting.
I don't know why. My son, who opened up the restaurant 111 with us, he did a lot of investigating on licenses. He knows about the licenses better than
Mhm.
anybody. And it's funny that you bring that up, Charles, because we were just talking about that like 2 months ago. And David was like, nah, I'm pretty sure they don't allow BYOB, so, but it's something that, things can change, they change codes and licenses
Yeah, who
all the
knows?
time, all the time.
Yeah.
So,
It probably wouldn't hurt to reach out to find out, to say what you're trying to accomplish, because then you'd be kind of like a stationary. Yeah, I guess it would be a liquor license. Yeah.
if you go and buy your own beer and take it to a park, that's not like really BYOB. It's just like somebody purchasing their beer and taking it to a park and having a cookout.
Right. Yeah.
See, that's I I you know I don't want to harp on the liquor licenses and what they allow and don't allow, but some things to me um, don't make a lot of sense. Um, I think it's a it can be a bit over restrictive.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
Others
So
are
right.
a
So
little more relaxed.
yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So your son, he runs the 111 Main restaurant down
He
here on.
did. He did. He opened it up. He was the manager there, and we opened that in 2015, in October of 2015. Yeah, David, he was involved with that um, from from ground zero, and then about 6 months into it, some things changed in his life, and he he had to move back down to the seafood stop. Um, it was a better fit for him, and he was young. I think opening the energy that it took, an investment of opening up a new restaurant, and he's never really done anything like that before.
Yeah.
It kind of drained him, and it he he felt more comfortable at the seafood stop because he's been involved. He's 33 years old, and he's been involved on the side of the road with me since he was 10.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So so he feels more comfortable there, and it was a better fit. It was time. He did a great job. He did a fabulous job opening up 111, but
Mhm.
he had to move on, and it was best for him. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that, it's crazy that you mentioned that it's been there since 2015. I have yet to go in there and eat. I have to tell you, I'm sorry.
No, you know what? To tell you the truth, Charles, I I think that is good. I think that when somebody that I see in town or is a local person in Harford County, and they say, I still haven't come into your restaurant. I'm like, wow, okay, that's another new potential person that's never been in. That when they do come in, they'll have a really good experience, and I'm sure they'll be back and tell others. So it just means to me that we have more growth potential because there's people out there that haven't experienced us than we realize.
Yeah, and that's two things here that I hope this interview does is, obviously it gets you the exposure. You need to get people like me to go in there, and and hopefully somebody who's listening will have some more insight on that BYOB. So when you do that little pavilion out there, I think that's a great idea.
I think it's
You know,
a it's a wonderful idea, and you know um I think I've looked at that little park. It looks like a little park if you go into that into that um, parking lot in front of our building, you'll see it.
Hmm.
It looks like a little park, and it has stone. He put stone pathways, so it could be a really cool little venue to eat some hard crabs and drink some beer if
Yeah, and have some live music,
money would allow it.
right? And some live music, right? And that
You know,
would be great.
probably, thinking about this, you're making my wheels spin now. Is I could probably get a day permit. I'm not saying probably. I'm pretty certain that I could get a day permit to have 111 because they have a liquor license and catering license that they could provide that the beer and wine for an event there.
That is a great idea.
So you build a pavilion and you just go to the
Catered by 111.
board for a day permit.
Yep. Catered by 111. There you
Catered by
go.
11. Mm-hmm.
See
Yep.
that? This interview happened for a reason. See
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's good ideas.
Yeah. So, the last two questions, wrapping up here for you. Some of the challenges that you face. I mean, you were pretty clear on some of the challenges, but how has the pandemic changed your business model with these challenges?
Yeah.
The good old pandemic. Ugh.
Yeah. COVID. It it was really for more so, I'll say, for the sit down restaurant 111 Main than the crab houses, but I'm not going to diminish the challenges that the crab houses had. I'm not, but it was more of there was more of an adaptation to take place at 111 because we did carry out, but it was very, very minimal up to the pandemic.
Hmm.
So now we had to turn a sit down of restaurant into a carry out, and if it wasn't really for my general manager Kristen Oktivek and our chef who is part owner now of 111, Brian Bosel,
Hmm.
it would not have gotten done. They came up with a plan and a process of getting dinners out uh, daily in like a almost a assembly line kind of fashion of getting them boxed, getting them labeled, getting them packaged,
Right.
and drinks included, you know,
Hmm.
cocktails, wine, all carry out. And
Right.
coming up to the door, we put a table across our door entrance where we have a vestibule so people can walk into the vestibule, but they couldn't come in the building. They would be stopped by that table by our front door, and
Hmm.
we just pass things through our door that way, and it really did well. And I'll tell you what really got us through the challenges of COVID, and this is really the bottom line, is the support that we got from the community.
Hmm.
The community, I can't tell you how many, and this goes at 111 Main and the crab houses as well. The community, they they wanted to support you. They wanted they they would go out of their way to support you. They were immeasurably um, they would generous with tipping. It was it was it was just a very unbelievable thing to see the generosity of the community around you. that had been coming to you and patronizing your business for years, and they're like, we don't want you to go away.
Right.
We don't want you to go away. We're going to do whatever we can. We're going to support you in any way that we possibly can to help you get through this. And so, for all of the challenges logistically that we had to go through, and the crab houses would get really busy because sit-down restaurants weren't sit-down restaurants anymore. So everything was carry-out. So our carry-out businesses at the crab houses, basically, they increased 50%, during COVID, because that's all people had.
Right.
They weren't allowed to go to sit down, so they had to go. And I think crabs, were a comfort food for people, that they could take them home and sit with their families, not friends, because people weren't mingling at that time. People weren't interacting with their friends. It was a family thing only.
Right.
So they would seize the opportunity to take crabs home and be with their family. It was a family thing. It was a social family thing that I think that had a lot to do with the success of the crab houses during the pandemic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the generosity of the community was astounding.
That is so great to hear. I love to hear that, because as I drove around, during the pandemic, I would see these lines of people lined up, just to wait to get food. It was amazing,
I can't tell you it impacted, all of the staff,
Mm-hmm.
at all of our locations, how much it impacted them, the generosity. Now, look, not everybody, you have a fraction of 1% of people who wanted to get their food their way at their time and get out of my way. But, that was a fraction of a percentage. 99.9% of the people were just so kind and patient and generous and understanding. Look, we had to put these systems in place that weren't perfect. We had to refine them and tweak them weekly to make it easier on the staff and our customers. And they understood it. They got it. They're like, these, they're doing the best they possibly can, and I just, we owe it all. All three of our businesses owe it all to the community.
And, your staff and you, because you're putting out a good product, people wanted your food.
Yeah. I sometimes, I need to pat my staff on the back more often than I do. I am guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I just caught myself in this interview not giving my accolades to my staff, but my staff went above and beyond, and they worked very, very difficult hours.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Are you still there?
I am.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost you for a second. It got quiet.
Yeah. I just kind of reflecting on my staff there.
That's great. And that's why, we do what we do at Q.A.C. team. It's part of, letting people know that, when your staff does a good job, you got to reward them, incentivize them, take care of them, pat them on the back, do what you have to do to keep them.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know how today is with the workforce, and we see it all the time, that it's tough to find good people now, and people will leave,
It's a very difficult part of the business to find good, reliable help. It's difficult. And like you said, when you find them, you got to take care of them.
You got it. Yep, absolutely. All right. So in a nutshell, you have 2 crab places, 1 sit down. And do you have crabs at One Eleven Main, or is that just like
that's just fine dining?
fine dining? Gotcha.
We seat.
Okay.
Inside seating, it's small, but that's the way we wanted it because it's easier to manage and make things perfect. We seat like 58 people in and a small bar that seats 4. But then in the spring and summer, we have outside seating along Main Street sidewalk. So we can probably seat another 14 people out there. So it's very, very small. It's a restaurant. It's not a bar. It doesn't have a television. And that's the way we want it. We want people to come in and have a fine dining experience.
I think it's a great idea because, technology seems to overcome all of us all day, every day, and not having a TV and, people go for a fine dining and really enjoy themselves. That's such a great idea.
I mean, that's what you can go, there's plenty of sports bars and bars around. If you want that, hey, go for it, man. You got plenty of options there, but we wanted to be a restaurant. That's what we wanted to be. We wanted to be a fine dining restaurant, small, has a charm to it, and no electronics, except some people, will use their cell phones.
Still point at the cell phones.
But no TVs and nothing like that.
Right. That's awesome. So you're on Facebook, Instagram under Richard Seafoods?
Instagram, theseafoodstop.com or richardsfishandcrabs.com or 111main.com, or it would be 111 Bel Air, one or the other. One of the two. Yeah.
Gotcha. But if we just Google 111 Main, we can find
it'll come right up. Yep.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah. Keeps us busy, and it's always, there's always some sort of challenges to overcome, but I have very good staff.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm awesome. For sure with the people that help run these businesses, for sure. Yep.
Well, I will be in 111 Main one of these few days coming up. I will make sure I get in there to try your great food. And I really appreciate you taking the time to detail out, your story and what you've been through and where you're headed. And
not sure where I'm headed yet, but I've got an idea.
But I think that idea is great. I think you should run with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, there's going to be a time where, it's time to hand the reins over, and so that's something that will be happening here in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm sure,
Gotcha.
Yeah. But there's a lot of good people to hand those reins over to, that's for sure.
Right. That's great. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the food. Looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah, face to face would be good.
Absolutely. We'll talk. And thank you again for coming on and giving us your story. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll meet. We'll meet soon.
Yep. Happy New Year to you, Charles.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
You've been listening to the Q.A.C. Team podcast with your host, Charles Luttrell. Today, we took you beyond the restaurant table and into the kitchen with leaders and business owners in your community. For more information, visit us at QACteam.com or Facebook and Instagram at QAC.team. Thanks for listening.